So this is how we present our interest in the property. And again, you don't want to expose your client's leverage. So when I go through that offer, I'm trying to say, look, I'm trying to let them know we're interested without telling them exactly what you're going to do. But like, let's be professional about it. Let's make sure we got your pre-approval letter. Let's make sure we have the BFI, the buyer's financial information, signed seller's disclosure, lead paint disclosure, agreement of sale, everything. Like,
It's kind of like dating.
yep.
So you want to let the other party know you're interested, but not too interested.
Man, that's been a long time. A couple decades since we had to do that one.
Just rolling back.
Going back and like, is that how it went down?
I think so.
Is that how we got married?
Or more like a bus party
Is
or
that how we had
something
kids?
with some jungle juice.
Might have been a bus party with jungle juice somewhere in Philadelphia. Welcome to the podcast dedicated to real estate, insurance, and everything in between. Join us as we take you along our own brokerage building journeys with additional wisdom from our network of business experts. Welcome to Bricks and Risk. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Bricks and Risk. I'm Tim Garrity.
And I'm Sean Mooney. Tim.
Hey Sean.
Hey Tim. Today we're talking about prep and close. Prep
Nice.
and close.
In what sense?
How you're prepping your clients.
Okay.
Or prospects.
Yep.
And then how you close them out.
Awesome.
So get us started.
Okay.
How are we working with your clients and getting them prepped?
All right, let me do this. Let me hit it from two ways. Okay. The two ways I want to hit it. Let's talk about me working with a buyer client, and let's talk about me working with a seller client. Because working with those are two of the most common ways you go in residential real estate, which is my specialty.
Right.
Let me start with the buyer client because that's more common. It's like you could be new to real estate, only been doing this for 6 months or like 2 years. Like buyers are probably going to be more common than sellers. So let's talk about buyer clients. So like, let's say it's someone I don't know.
Okay.
If it's someone I don't know, what do I want to do? One of the first things I want to do to prep that client is I want to find a way to build rapport, build trust. So a lot of times with a buyer client, I would still do this with a warm one, but let's like stick with it being cold because I feel like that's more common. If it's someone I didn't really know, I always want to set up what I call a buyer consultation. So a buyer consultation in residential real estate, you can just suggest, hey, let's have a phone call, or let's have a Zoom, or let's go get a cup of coffee, whatever it is. That's, I feel like, very common as far as my field and like prepping a buyer client. The way I like to do it, I either like to do it through Zoom, which is my preferred method because I think that's better for both sides. But I also like to do it face to face. So it's either we're in person grabbing a cup of coffee, or I'm meeting them somewhere for lunch or whatever, or we're doing it through Zoom.
And is this scenario where they are like, hey, I want to buy and I don't know who I want to work with, and I want you to kind of pitch your strategy?
Yeah, I look at it as like, I think people get overly excited when they get a new client because they just want to like spit out all the information. It's like, oh, well, like, where are you looking and what are you trying to do? And it's like, before you get into any of that and before you're like, vomiting questions, I look at it as like, I talked to someone the first time, I say, hey, I understand you're interested in buying a home. Let's set up a time where we can talk. So what's your schedule like in this week or next week? And then that way they're like, oh, Tim really wants to take the time with me to learn more about what I'm trying to do. My goals, like where I want to live, like my price range, how many beds and bathrooms, like city versus suburban, whatever. So I find that just starting off the conversation with like, let's schedule a time, also lets them know I value my time.
Yeah.
Because I do. It's like taking phone calls all day with people I don't know who may or may not be a buyer client is probably not a good use of anyone's time. Yeah. So once I schedule that appointment and I get time in front of them, again, I prefer Zoom because it's a time saver. Also, I like Zoom because Zoom provides a lot of visual guidance. So I set the Zoom up. I'm going to go over what I call my buyer presentation. So when you go to sell a house for someone, you work, a listing, or you're working with a seller client, a lot of people have listing presentations. Not everyone has a buying or a buyer's presentation.
But wouldn't you need the information to put that together or no?
No.
Okay.
Because here's how I look at it. In real estate, you can agree with this because you've bought real estate a couple times.
Yep.
But you're in your mid 40s now. You've only done this a handful of times. You think you even remember? We've worked together. Do you even remember how that went? No. You're like starting at square one when you buy real estate, whether it's your first time or your 10th time. So I treat it like square one. So during that buyer consultation, I'll ask a lot of questions. Okay, tell me why you're buying real estate. Where do you want to go and why? What's your price range and why? Like, what are you looking for? What's your wish list? Like, what's important besides bedrooms and bathrooms? Like, are you looking for a yard? Are you looking for a pool? Are you looking for a walkout basement? Like all these specific things that I get out of them. Once I get all the information, then I go through my buyer presentation. And the buyer presentation for Copper Hill and for myself is really educating them on the process. So it's like, we haven't even talked about the fact that you want to go see 123 Main Street today because you went to Zillow or you went to realtor.com and you're excited. You're like, all right, Tim, like, let's get to it. Like, can you show me this house? Because I want to buy it. I take my time so that they feel comfortable before we go see 123 Main Street. So that's really more for them. Because if we just go out and we see 123 Main Street and I'm asking all these questions and they're emotionally connected to the house and like it's at night and like they can't see everything, like they're not focused and they're probably not answering the questions right. So when I go through my buyer presentation, it has things on like, hey, here are the steps to buying a house. Get pre-approved for a mortgage. Like if you get something on their contract, then you got to inspect it. You're probably going to need a mortgage, which requires an appraisal. Then you go to closing, then you pick up your keys, and then you move in. So like I'm giving them a real basic layout on what to expect, as well as me as their buyer agent. Because one of the biggest questions I get working with buyers is, how do you get paid? Like, you're
free.
You're helping me out. It's like, yo, nothing's free.
Yeah.
Especially buying a $500,000 house. It sure as hell ain't free.
Yeah.
But me talking to them be like, traditionally, if I represent you as a buyer and we look at properties that are listed on the open market, the seller's going to pay my commission.
Right.
99 times out of 100. And that, there's all sorts of stuff going on in the news right now where that structure may be changing in certain different ways. But for now, that's how it works.
Is there any part of that is part of your process to get on their level, like on a psychological level? Like, where are these people and what's going to motivate them to choose this house or that house? Like, is there some different parts to it that might not be directly on, that form?
I'd say in the beginning, it's me really just learning all about them, what they want, teaching them how the process works. And then I'll say, do you have any questions for me? Is there anything you would like to know about me being your buyer agent that I didn't go over? Or like how we go look at houses or like writing offers or inspections or anything. So then I open it up to them. But I save that part that you're mentioning for in-person showings.
Yeah.
Because now that we've gotten to know each other, they're like, all right, we like Tim. He's cool. He gave us a lot of information. Seems super knowledgeable. He owns a brokerage. He's worked with lots of buyers. We feel like we're in good hands. Mm-hmm. Then when we go to look at the house, I'm like very casual. I'm like, we walk into the house. I'm like, just walk around. I don't need to, here's the kitchen and here's the bedroom. And no, you're going to go figure that out. I let them walk around the house and start stacking the questions up in their head. Then once they see something that they like or they don't like, that's going to build that rapport. I'm going to learn more of the details. Well, the reason we're moving is because such and such is pregnant, or the reason we're moving is because we're getting married, or the reason we're moving is because I'm downsizing, or the reason we're moving is because our house is too small. So then I'm really getting into like, why are we looking at 123 Main Street? They're telling me now they're comfortable with me. They're going to open up to me more. So like, that's a lot of my prep. And let's talk about, I'm going to jump into a seller client too real quick so I can give you that perspective. A seller client is harder. It's more difficult because sellers are looking for agents with a track record, with experience. Like they want to see your sign on the street. They want to know that you've helped people sell real estate for $500,000, $1 million. They want to go look at that stuff. So like sellers are very much like every time I talk to a seller, whether it's cold or warm, I know they're talking to other people.
Yeah.
Like I always, good market, bad market, it doesn't matter. And going in with that perspective, I think is wise because you're there to build trust like right away. And again, same approach. It's like, okay, let me know when you're free. But instead of doing a Zoom, because that's not going to do me any good, what I do to set that first appointment is I say, is there a time that I can come by your home so I can see it? Because if I don't see your home the first time we talk, I'm giving you misinformation. I need to see what I'm working with. I need to walk it. I need to see, is it clean? Is it messy? Does it smell great? Does it not smell great? Like, is your backyard a disaster? Like, is your roof falling off? Like, is this the most pristine house I've ever seen? Like, I need to go see that. So then once we get to the house, I walk in, and before we do anything, kind of like the buyer consultation, I say, okay, here's how we're going to do it. Take me on a tour of your home and start to tell me about it. Like, how long have you been here? Like, what improvements have you made? Is this exactly how you bought it? Like, tell me what you've done. So I'm taking them back through that emotional journey of like when they bought this house, whether it was 3 years ago or 50 years ago. I work with clients in both scenarios. Like, tell me all about your home. So then I get the whole history of everything, how connected they are to it. Hey, this is where, this is where our first child was born. This was their bedroom. And then we had bunk beds in here or
Not
whatever.
literally born there, like born in the hospital, but.
And it's funny. My wife sometimes, I'm like, I'll talk about Ella and I'm like, that house in Philadelphia, that's where Ella was born. She's like, Ella wasn't born there. She was born at the hospital. I'm like, yo, foot off the gas, honey. Take it easy. But
You're like, I know, I was there at the hospital with you. I remember that day.
Oh, I remember. Good for me, bad for you.
Ooh.
But so again, building that rapport, getting to that trust. So know, like, and trust, getting to that trust with the seller. And then once we've gone through the whole journey of their home, whether it was short or long, it doesn't matter. We sit down, whether it's in their family room, their dining room table, their kitchen, wherever, and I go through my listing presentation. And that is very fact-based. So that's like, I'm going over the square footage of your home because I can see all that on public record, your beds and your bathrooms. Now I know the condition. I'm going over the comps, the homes that have sold, the homes that are listed that have not sold. So you get a sense of inventory, like, is demand high or is demand low? Going through all that, but then going through my marketing plan. Like, this is why you want to work with Tim Garrity at Copper Hill versus, Bill Smith at this company. Yeah. And it's because this is what I do and it's different, or it's, more in depth, or, it's a step above, what you've heard, or maybe there's been 3 listing agents that have been through here already. And then I talk about all that. And then at the end, we get to the point of just saying, okay, where are you at? Like, tell me a little bit about, you have a number in your head of what you'd like to get for this, because I want to understand what the seller thinks. They may, if the house is worth 500 and they want to get $1 million, it's like, it's probably not going to be a good fit. But if it's worth 500, like, hey, my mind's at 550 and everything here supports 500, then we figure out what works. It's about them. It's about what works best for them by seeing everything I've already delivered. It's
got to be hard in that situation because of the unrealistic expectations, not expectations. I imagine the scenario being is that you come in, say, hey, where are you at? Here's where I'm at. This is where I think it'll be. And then you're like blindsided by some other agent that says, oh, no, we can do much better than that.
Yeah.
Just to get the deal.
Exactly. Like, someone could come in and say, if it's worth 500, I'm like, I'd list it for 510, 525.
Yeah.
Like, if I say that and they're like, well, someone else came through here and said we could get 600 for it. And I would say, okay, first of all, have you seen comps online, like on Zillow or Realtor.com? Do you have comps to support that?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, one sold in here like 2 years ago. I was like, okay, like, I understand that a home sold, but that's not a comp. Comps are 6, 12 months max. Because as long as we have at least 3 properties that we can compare against yours, we have comps.
Yeah.
And you got to be careful of that. But let's talk about you, Mooney Insurance Brokers.
Yep.
Give me some scenarios about how you would prep a client.
So in the very beginning, we get a referral into the office, or, someone, calls as a cold call into the office. The first things we're going to do is to try and disqualify that person, get rid of them.
Yeah.
And the reason being is that it allows us to find our ideal client. So some of the things we do is that we will intentionally kind of set a bar where they have to kind of clear it. And the first one is just purely from a technological standpoint. So let's just say they get a call in and, hey, we'd like you to, review our insurance. Great. We'd love to help you out, that kind of thing. Send us your current policies. And if they're not able to get us copies of the policies or get us access or whatever, it's really, for us, something that would almost make it a situation where we wouldn't be able to work with them.
Okay.
Just because so much of our interaction.
Hey, like, how am I supposed to help you if I have no idea what I'm even working with? Like, if I have no understanding of, like, what your deductible is, what your monthly payment is, what kind of coverage you have, whether it's a car or a house or anything. Like, if you have no clue, then how are you supposed to help them?
Right.
Or why would you even spend the time if you can't really add value or make it financially more feasible for them working with you?
Exactly. So that's the first part of it. The second part is, okay, why? Why are you looking for new insurance?
Yeah, why are you calling me, or why am I calling you, type of thing.
And so this really gets into like a broad array of reasons as to why people would be reaching out. One, a bad claim scenario with my current carrier.
Yep.
Right. Recently, right now, what we're seeing a lot is, hey, we just switched insurance carriers and they came out, did an inspection of our home, and our roof was too old and they didn't want to insure us.
Oh boy.
And our insurance that we just signed up for is being canceled.
Wow.
Yeah. And so.
How common is that today?
Very.
Really?
Extremely.
Wow. Just because everything's tighter and,
What they say is that the way you keep your home is an indicator as to the likelihood or propensity to file a claim at some point down the road.
Wow.
So if you walk up to a home and it's immaculate and well taken care of versus a home that, the landscaping is off, there's missing paint, there's a crack on the window, different things.
They use droids. They don't use iPhones. They're like, wait, let me see that phone. I'm sorry. I can't help you. I can't help you today.
Get rid of this.
Sorry. And then he speed off and there's skid marks in the road and they're like, what was that all about? And then, like, honey, you know why. We all have droids and Sean's responsible for that.
So with that, we find a lot of people coming to us because we're a brokerage.
Yep.
So they go to an insurance agency and they say, hey, we want
like a one size fits all.
Yep. So they go somewhere else. They say, hey, we got this great deal for you. Write your insurance. They go out and inspect and they say, hey, you're being canceled because of this roof. All right, well, what are you going to do? Oh, we can't do anything. Go find a broker.
There's no option B.
Yeah.
It's one option and you don't qualify.
Right.
Wow.
Well, you just told me to come here. You just gave me this. You just signed up for these new policies. And now you're telling me to like hit the road with nothing to offer.
Do you find so today, knowing that that's a problem, do you find having the number of carriers you have, and you've said this before, like different appetites for different carriers kind of thing, like that probably gives you much more of a leg up in today's world, because rather than just saying it's option A or no option, you're like, I got A through Z.
Yeah.
I just need to understand if that carrier is a little bit more flexible with your roof's current state than option A, let's say.
Yeah.
And then that way you can kind of find someone that says like, no, we like everything else about it. The fact, if we raise the premium or we do something else in the structure of the deal, we'll do it.
Yeah.
Do you find that that's giving you a leg up in this market?
A tremendous leg up.
Wow.
Because there's just so many more avenues that we can go when we're looking at putting together an insurance portfolio. And right now, these companies have different appetites and everybody's a little different. And I think where people are falling short is that some of those other agencies aren't being like upfront. They're so dying to get the deal
Yeah.
that they're not too concerned with if they cancel out. They can just be like, sorry, didn't, go find it somewhere else. And so what we do on the front end is we really part of that process of, you know, disqualifying that client is really getting a real sense of the home
Yep.
and incorporating like what that roof looks like because we know it's going to be an issue. I mean, we've turned people away saying, "Hey, listen, we
Can't do
don't
it.
want you to go. We could have great coverage for you with this great company, but we know from our experience that that roof is going to be a real problem for you." And so our recommendation is to not do anything right now. Like, I know you're looking for new insurance for whatever reason, but for your best path forward, don't do anything until, if you were set on, replacing the roof or doing these upgrades, then do that and then look for the new insurance. So it's almost a consultative, just like you're consulting with these people,
Yeah.
trying to like educate them and kind of let them know what the market is. We're kind of doing the same exact thing with where the insurance market is right now and really trying to lead them through it to position them in the best way possible.
Here's a question. Do you or other insurance companies use things like Google Earth or Google Street Map or
Yeah.
anything like that to be like, I need to get like a sense of what this property looks like without physically. Now, again, it's not real time,
No.
but at least you can be like, all right, if this place has been there for like 50 years and I do a Google Earth to see what the roof or the backyard or the pool or whatever looks like, and I do Google Street to get a sense of like what the front of the home looks like. Do you use that?
Here's what these carriers are doing today. Drones.
Really?
We literally put it in an app and they won't let you submit some carriers. They literally pull.
Do they drive to the house, lift up a drone?
No, there's companies out there right now that are just running drones.
Like in the airspace?
Yep.
They're just like, take that drone from this side of town to 123 Main Street because we want to see what the roof looks like.
And they're collecting that data on thousands
No.
and thousands and millions of homes. So when I put
Oh, that's creepy.
an application in, so like I don't even submit an application. If I'm just working up a
Yeah.
proposal for a client, sometimes I'll put in an address and then I'll get to like where you get to like the final proposal and it'll say kick out, reject. And it'll be so in the background, these companies are running real time. They're pulling these drone photos from these houses.
Damn.
And this is another reason why there's so much trouble in switching with insurance right now because there's so much data out there. Whereas before, what are you going to do? We're going to pay a guy to go doing a home inspection, get a ladder, get them up on a roof. Like the cost of that is,
Does anyone ever go outside their house when the drone comes and they're like, yo, do you work for Uber Eats? Because I'll take 2 Shack burgers and some fries from Shake Shack, please.
2 triple baconators. No, but I mean that. So these are some of the tools that these
That's
carriers are
interesting.
using.
Whoa.
That now we're having to contend with, right?
Do you use drones? Do you ever? Is that any part of your like? Do you ever have drones fly off for a client of yours?
No. It's just the carriers pay vendors to grab that information and use it on their underwriting for new properties. Yep.
That's crazy.
Yep. And so there's just so many levels that we have to maneuver through. And really, in the end, we're, again, just trying to put the client in the best possible position.
Yeah.
And what they're also doing is they're pulling drones, but they're snapshotting it, meaning it's never more than 90 days. So it's literally, if you pull it up on this vendor site, it's within the last 90 days.
Oh my gosh, is that accurate?
but it's also doing like backtrack real time, meaning
You can go back.
they go, hey, this is what it looked like.
That's what it looked like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Whoa.
So that if I
Oh,
say,
that's so intrusive.
if I say, yo, Jim Smith, oh, I called Jim. He's got a new roof. He said he put it on 2 years ago.
You know what you should do? You should start advertising your company. Be like, I don't mess with drones. Work with me.
Yeah. There's an idea.
You know?
I mean,
That's crazy. Hey everyone, this is Tim, your favorite Bricks and Risk co-host. But don't tell Sean. I hope you're enjoying this episode, and I'll get right back to it in a moment. Our audience grows through word of mouth, so if you would please take a moment of your time and give us a review on the platform you're on, that would be fantastic. Please also help spread the B&R word by sharing your favorite episode with a friend. We greatly appreciate your time and trust. Now, back to the show. All right. So we talked about prep.
Yep.
Let's talk about close.
Yep.
So I'll start with the buyer.
Yeah.
So talk to the buyer on the phone, most likely having a Zoom or an in-person somewhere, going over the buyer presentation so they feel comfortable. We're looking at 123 Main Street tonight. We go to the property. Again, we do the thing. They're walking through the house. I'm answering their questions, whether it's one person or a whole family. I'm like, what do you think? And they're like, we absolutely love it.
Have to have this house.
How do we buy this thing right now? So then let's talk about the close.
Yeah.
So there's different ways that agents at all different companies close. So you could be like a solo agent at a company like Copper Hill or a big company, you know, like a big box shop. You could be a team at either, or you could be like a brokerage owner like myself that also, I still practice with clients. I want to be in the trenches. I need to stay fresh, and I'm relationship based. So I'm going to take care of those people. Yep. Is really letting them know the process to put in an offer, because they're like, okay, we want to do this. And they have no idea.
Tim, I need you to guarantee me that we're going to get this house.
Yeah, they're like, what do we need to do? And in today's day and age, depending on what market you're in and around Philadelphia, if it's a hot market, inventory is very low. It's like, you might, if you show them the house at 6:30 at night, like the offer is going to be in the hands of the listing agent by like 8 o'clock.
Yep.
So, you know, at Copper Hill, I have a full service transaction team. So the first thing I'll say is like, okay, let's talk about this property. Let's go over kind of like the comps for this property, which again, if it's a low inventory market, the comps are kind of irrelevant because it's based more on like need and like, we want this house.
Yeah.
So you're kind of going more off the asking price. So you're kind of giving them a sense of like, here's how we go in. So this is how we present our interest in the property. And again, you don't want to expose your client's leverage. So when I go through that offer, I'm trying to say, look, I'm trying to let them know we're interested without telling them exactly what you're going to do. But like, let's be professional about it. Let's make sure we got your pre-approval letter. Let's make sure we have the BFI, the buyer's financial information, you know, signed seller's disclosure, lead paint disclosure, you know, agreement of sale, everything. Like,
it's kind of like dating.
Yep.
So you want to let the other party know you're interested, but not too interested.
Man, that's been a long time. A couple decades since we had to do that.
Yeah.
One.
Just rolling back and
going back and like, is that how it went down?
I think so.
Is that how we got married?
Or more like a bus party
Is
or
that how we had
something
kids?
with some jungle juice.
Might have been a bus party with jungle juice somewhere in Philadelphia. So again, putting in that offer for them and then setting their expectation.
Yeah.
So saying like, look, this just hit the market today, or it's been on the market for 2 days. You know, they got an open house tomorrow. Like the chances of us getting this property could be slim. So I don't want you to get overly excited that all we have to do is put an offer and you're going to get it for what you want and it's going to be yours. So I try and educate my buyer client on the situation. If it was a slow market, I'd be like, we can take our time. We can come in 10% under asking because there's 20 other homes just like this one and sellers are struggling. Yeah. So it really depends on the market. So like you're putting in that offer for them, but then also here's another little secret tip or tactic as a buyer agent that I use, especially like being involved, having like transaction volume in a market, is like build some rapport with the listing agent. So like before you do anything, before you assume you know what's going on with this property, I'm going to call the listing agent and say, okay, what's the story here? Like, do you have any other offers in hand? If they say yes, I know it's urgent. If they say no, which they have to answer either one way or the other, I'll be like, okay, we got some time, but they got an open house tomorrow.
Yeah.
How's showing traffic been? Like, how many people have been through the home? Like, I'll ask questions. Some of these they really don't have to answer. But again, leading from more, hey, I want to help you get this deal done.
Yeah.
And I have serious buyers. So it's letting the agent know that you're a professional. You're just trying to understand. You're not trying to get inside information. You're not trying to leverage that seller. You're trying to say, like, look, I know you're protecting the seller's interest. I'm just trying to protect the buyers. But just give me a few little tidbits so that I give you an offer with our best foot forward.
Yeah.
Because if you go best foot forward, whether there's interest from multiple people or no interest, they're going to know that you're an agent they want to work with. And that matters. So like appealing to the listing agent as a buyer agent, like right off the bat without just like sending them an email and be like, here's our offer, you're overpriced, or here's our offer, we love this house. Like rather than doing it that way, again, tip to all the buyer agents out there, if you're not doing this yet, like take your time, build the rapport, like in your email to the buyer agent, have it say like, here's some highlights of our offer. Here's the purchase price. Like, here's when we want to close, like waiving inspections, or like, this is our inspection period, mortgage, no mortgage. Like you're putting all that in your email. So they just glance at the email and they're like, oh, Tim really knows what he's doing. And thank you so much for saving me 15 minutes of combing through all these documents to figure this out. You're just telling me, no, I'm going to go verify. But still, Tim took the time to put this in an email to make my job easier. And I want to talk to the seller and say, like, I think we should be working with Tim and his clients because I think they're serious.
But in addition to that,
Yeah.
for all the buyer agents out there,
Yep.
You're also building that rapport. And so like circles are small around here. Like you're going to like probably bump into that listing agent again.
Yeah.
And if you approach them and it's professional and you build the rapport, and let's say that deal doesn't work out, maybe there's another one down the road, like they're going to remember you and say, oh yeah, Tim did a great job, with the presentation with that client. They were serious. It didn't work out, but I remember that. And, maybe it works out in the second time.
I mean, what have they said ever since we're growing up about the city of Philadelphia? It's a big city, but it's a small town.
Yeah.
The reason they say that, it's like, it is like, don't burn bridges, like lead with value, be professional, be polite, treat others as you want to be treated. Like doing that is just going to get you and your clients further. So like, that's the process, closing the buyer, trying to get the deal done, whether it gets done or not. At least I go back to my buyer clients. Like, we didn't get it, but at least we gave it our best shot.
Yeah.
And someone just paid more, or someone waived their inspections, or someone was paying cash, and you can't do that.
Yeah.
So now we learn for the next one, but that's closing the deal with a buyer. Closing the deal with a seller is like, I'm doing the listing presentation. I'm getting that number. Hey, we think it's worth 550. I'm like, fantastic, because I think it's worth 550. Guess what? I'm going to list it for 559, 500. Build you a little bit of negotiating room, because again, if someone wants to come 10,000 over, we already know what it's worth. So I'm leading with value in that sense. But if you put that property on the market and then that buyer agent comes to me, whether they're professional or not, I'm going to the seller client and I'm really educating them. Be like, we just put this thing on the market. Like, we don't have to cave for anyone. Plus, I do have an open house tomorrow or this weekend.
Yeah.
So let's counter, but let's not give it all away. Or if it's the spot where it's like, here's a great example. In today's market where inventory is low, a lot of people will prep their seller clients for a close of saying, I'm going to put this as coming soon on the market so that everyone gets super psyched up. I mean, you've seen this as someone who looks at real estate.
Yep.
And people are like, I want to go see it. It's like, we can't see it. It's coming soon. And the only time you can see it is when the open house happens on Sunday and there's going to be 50 cars pulled. You're going to be tripping over people just to see what the bathroom looks like, because someone's like, oh, Judy, I think this is a really nice shower. What do you think? And it's like, come on. That was my take in an old school Philly accent. Like, yo, what do you think of this, Belle? It look good? I think it looks nice. But, going through all that. So it really just depends on your strategy and like getting it to that seller client. So like setting that seller up for that open house. Or like, why would we do that? Why would I put it as coming soon? Like, what if someone wants it? I want them to come see it. It's like, there's no other homes for sale. You have a beautiful home. We're priced well. Let's price it well so that we get 2 or 3 offers. If we get 2 or 3 offers, guess what? They're going to hopscotch each other to go well above and beyond 5-10% over where you're at. You're going to get every term you want, cash, no inspections. It's going to be done in a month. And this is going to be, but you have to do it this way to get that done. We just throw it on the market again, vomiting with like information. Like someone's going to come in and be like, I'll give you this. And then you're like, you lost all your leverage.
You can't assume, right?
Can't assume.
You have to build the process, stick to the process, and then let it play out.
That's right. So like that is how I would close a seller, whether again, like low inventory market, high inventory market, you're prepping them, you're letting them know this is how I'm going to follow through with my marketing. Here's another secret I'll give out there to all the seller agents, listing agents.
Man, Dylan, get the bell ready.
Yo, if you're not doing this already, Dill, listen up, pal. What I do with all my seller clients is I tell them before we even list the property, I'm going to send you an email once a week. That's just going to let you know what's going on. Because this is what happens when someone sells property. They're just like, oh, is there a showing today? How'd the showing go? Did they like the house? What do they think of the price? Like, was it a good showing? Was it a bad showing?
Yeah.
And it's like, don't do that because you're just going to get yourself emotionally stressed out. Like, just wait for me to give you like a summary of the week. And then that way, when I send them the email, it's like, okay, here's your property. Like, here's how many showings we had. Here's the feedback we got. Here's the marketing I'm doing. Here's the future marketing I think we should do. Here's my opinion of the price. Like, if it's been on the market for 3 months, what am I going to send to the price point in my email? I'm going to say, you're overpriced. No one's buying this thing. It's sitting for 3 months, 6 months, 10 months. Like, what are we doing? Do you want to sell this house? Or are we just like crossing our fingers? And by doing that weekly communication, any which way you want to do it, I prefer email because then they got the track record.
Yeah.
It's letting them know you don't have to reach out to me to see how things are going. I'm going to be proactive and reach out to you weekly, which is all you need to tell you what's going on with your property.
Yeah.
And people appreciate that because when I do that on like usually like a Friday, I'll do it. When I do it on a Friday, I'm like, okay, we only had 2 showings this week, but we're going to have an open house on Sunday. And we'll see how the open house goes.
Yeah.
And they're like, awesome. Tim prepped me for the weekend. He saved me a call. I don't have to call him on Saturday. Be like, hey, how are the showings this week? Are you doing an open house? Like people ask these things. They want to know.
Yeah.
So that's, again, those are some ways that I close buyers and sellers. So why don't you tell me from like insurance standpoint when they got drones flying over their head?
We need some more Judy. Then we got to run that back. Judy.
Jody, what do you think of this? Is it good? I'd like it.
Yeah. So the insurance is, we worked that initial disqualifying process to make sure that we're on the same page. Why are you looking for a new insurance and kind of clear all those hurdles. And then it gets down to the point of really finding the best options available for the prospect. And so it's always going to be a proposal that we put together. And typically it will be like almost like a side by side, because whenever we look at, existing accounts that are coming in the door, we're always going to, and part of the reason why we ask for, current policies is that we can review, right? We can make an assessment of what they have.
Yep.
And then we're looking for gaps or deficiencies within their coverage and putting a proposal together that is our recommended plan of where we think that they should be in terms of the coverage.
Yeah, it's almost like you providing your expertise.
Yeah.
Like maybe they give you their current coverage. And I know price is very big in insurance. Like if I could give my own perspective, because I don't know a ton about the insurance world like you do, but I know that people are price sensitive because it's a commodity.
Yep.
You can get it anywhere. It's like, does it really matter? Like I'm protected. But I think your approach of educating them, it's like, you know what, your coverage is a little light and here's why.
Yeah.
Or like, your deductible is too low and that's a problem. Here's why.
Yep.
Like having all that is beyond price.
Yeah. And we're really, when they come to us, we really, part of the process we go through is, all right, besides price, what are you looking for?
Yeah.
Because we know that when we write with 15 companies, 12, 15 companies, depending on what the product is and whatever, we know we're going to be in the ballpark.
Yep.
It's just, you have that many, you're going to be able to compete just on a price basis. Mm-hmm. So let's just put that aside. And now you tell me what you're looking for. Do you want I don't know, mobile access on a mobile app, right? Do you like to be communicated to via text? Uh, do you like a pre-renewal review? We just try to get to the reason as to why they're moving and then what they're looking for, so that by the time we go and put the work in to get this final proposal together, we really know, all right, is this a motivated buyer? Is this a person that's just kicking tires? It's just,
Yeah.
hey, hey, I'm going to go look and see if the current price that I have is that competitive or not,
Yeah.
Or are they looking for, a broker that has the, carriers available that can get them what they need?
Here's a question. Because I know, because we've known each other so long and I trust you wholeheartedly so that when you're giving me something, I'm usually just like, okay, like it should go through that carrier.
Yeah.
Do people ever say, like, if you give them like a quote from one carrier, they're like, can you quote me from two other carriers that you have?
Yeah.
Do people ask, like,
Oh,
knowing
yeah.
how a brokerage works versus, a big box insurance where it's like, it's one flavor of ice cream?
Yep.
Like, you're like, yo, I'm Baskin Robbins. I can do whatever. I got many options here.
Yeah.
Like, do people are like, give me three carriers? Do people ask that?
Yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah. We get people that send over their policies and they like black out the premiums because they don't want me to see the premiums.
So they want you. So
Like-
rather than show their cards, they're just like, I'm just giving you my info.
Yeah.
I'm Bill. I'm Sally.
Yeah.
I'm interested in a quote.
Right.
You can't see anything about what I got going on. Can you quote me? And they want it, I'm assuming, through email.
Yeah.
So they're like, they want you to tell them before they tell you.
Yeah. Which is
Interesting.
funny because insurance is so highly regulated.
Yeah.
My pricing is my pricing is my pricing.
It's
right?
like, it's almost like interest rates in the mortgage world. It's like, it is what it is. Like, and you could talk to someone on Tuesday, but if you talk to someone on Wednesday, guess what? Both people are different.
right.
So you're comparing one day to the other, one week to the other, whatever.
So with those types of people, we really don't. We try not to even waste our time because it's like
yeah.
you're not
I
working.
play that game. If
You're
you know.
not interested in working with an advisor, right? You're not trying to reach out and, work with us or trust that we're going to put together this proposal for you because you feel it's in your best interest.
Yeah.
So it's just, we see a lot of different things.
Do they ever say at the bottom of that email, they're like, by the way, everything's blacked out. My last question is, Sean, do you use a Droid or an iPhone?
It does come up.
Then you have to lie.
It does come up from
Because
time
if
to
you
time.
don't lie, like you might as well not even quote them
Say,
because it's toast, dude.
I use
You're
an iPhone.
you just
I
say
promise.
Droid with like dots in between each letter. Droid. And they're like, later. And some people don't even say that because they're like, you already know I said later without me having to say later.
It's true. True. So we see all those kinds of people. But in the end, like perfect example is we were working on a new client just yesterday, the day before, and we asked them for the policies, sent them over, no problem.
Yep.
And part of their coverage was there was this humongous gap in coverage.
You mean from like one carrier to them getting
like they had a medical coverage on their policy, and not to get in the weeds, but the second coverage can't pick up unless you max out this coverage, and it wasn't. So like you're paying for this, but you don't really have this.
Sure.
So it was again, educate, consult, and so when we put our proposal together, it's like, hey, this is our recommended coverage. You need this because X, Y, and Z. You currently have this with these deficiencies, and we, map it all out. And that's really the final kind of proposal that we put for them to allow them to review. And hopefully at that point, they know that, we really have their best interest in mind and put together a proposal that's going to protect them. And,
Here's a good question. So to kind of close this one out, like one of the last points I wanted to talk about was like, like closing that client that, home and auto for you, buyer, seller for me, life insurance, investor, whatever
Yep.
that client is doing. So you and I are huge on relationships. and we're also very big on getting testimonials.
Yeah.
So like getting online reviews.
Yep.
And I know you focus heavily on Google reviews, as do I.
Yeah.
What would you say some of the most common things people say on your Google reviews? That when you get one, is there a common theme or themes that you feel like you get that, again, for someone to even take the time out of their day to give any kind of review on Google
It's
is
huge.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
Is there any one thing or things that people have said about Mooney Insurance Brokers that kind of like stand out?
I think one theme that kind of resonates with a vast majority of them is the process was easy and they did an amazing job of educating us. And I think the one thing that we shoot for that I've kind of hammered home with our team and with our prospects is like we really strive for frictionless insurance.
That's a good way to put it.
And what does
Yeah.
that mean? People always think like, oh, insurance. Oh,
It's not a
I
very
have
positive
to,
word.
I have to do this, and
Yeah.
there's so much work involved, and I gotta send these over, and then I gotta cancel. And what we try to do is really make it frictionless and seamless, right? So like, we do all the work for you.
Yep.
Just give us the information. We go to all the markets. We prepare your applications.
Yep.
We put the new policies in place. We contact your mortgage company.
Yeah. Yeah.
We notify your current carrier that we have the new
You're
coverage
not
in
passing
place.
the buck. You're like, well, normally this can be passed off.
Oh yeah, go do this.
Yeah.
Go
This is
do
what you
this.
got to do next.
Yep.
Here's step one of 5 steps.
So I think the one thing that you'll see in our Google reviews is just that.
That's awesome.
It was an easy process. I never thought it could be this easy. Sean and his team, had this all done in 3 days. Like, we really strive to make it an above average experience for our customers. And so it does come out in our reviews that that's kind of what we're shooting.
Great.
How about you guys?
Yeah, for us, it's similar in nature. It's really, I'd say probably the most common thing is customer service.
Yeah.
So real estate can get a bad name for itself sometimes because one, it's one of the most expensive things you're ever going to buy in your life, whether you live there or it's an investment. And two, it's such an emotional purchase. Like when you buy a house to live in, like that's where you live your life.
For your family, it's it's
Even
wrapped
if
around
if you're single.
Oh yeah.
Like if you're single, let's say you're single, maybe you have a pet, maybe you have no pets. It doesn't matter. Like this is your life. Like your home is your life. It's your world. You're buying it. Again, there are financial reasons to buy homes, but you're doing it for quality of life. So like being that such an expensive item and it's such an emotional roller coaster, what happens is a lot of people have like almost like honeymoon phases with agents where they're like, oh, they're so nice, they're so professional. And then when you get down to like issues, they like ghost you. And they're like, I don't know what to do. And they're like, what do you mean you don't know what to do? We're like, we're on the 10.
Why are you signing up with you?
We're on the 10. I'm in the red zone. I'm about to score a touchdown. And you're not even coaching me. Like, what are we supposed to do? So I think like customer service has always been the most common thing. The customer service was fantastic. It was flawless, seamless. Yeah. But also the fact that we have a transaction team that's involved on every deal. We mandate it with our agents. Not most brokerages don't do that.
Oh, wow.
By having, it's always a team of two, never a team of one. That they're like, the team effort at Copper Hill was amazing because then they'll start mentioning the transaction coordinator as well as the agent and then tying it home with the company.
Yeah.
So I'd say like those are the most unique things that I see. And again, like getting that is just going to allow you to build a relationship-based business and pick it up one notch at a time.
For sure.
So
great info.
So that's all we have for this one, folks. So thank you for tuning in to another episode of Bricks and Risk. See you soon. Thank you for joining us on another episode of Bricks and Risk. Our goal is that you walk away with 1 or 2 valuable nuggets, and we greatly appreciate you sharing your time with us today. You can find all BNR episodes on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, and anywhere else you get your podcast content. Until next time, keep learning and keep growing.